That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
What's going on, folks? We are live here. We're not live, actually. We're recording here at Elevate Outdoors, which is in Sanford, North Carolina. The grand opening just started today, which is May 2nd, May 3rd. So by the time you're hearing this, it really doesn't make a difference. But you need to come down here to Sanford, North Carolina and check out Elevate Outdoors. They're Bass Cat, Skeeter, Tidewater, G3. They got tons of different boats, tackle, apparel, everything that you guys can think of, Cashion fishing rods, all that good stuff. But what we got here is this very special guest, somebody local to the North Carolina area, Matt McBee, Tater Hog himself. Did I say your last name right, Matt McBee?
Yeah, Matt McBee, you said it right.
So we kind of got an awkward setup going on here, so I'm going to look at Matt as he's talking, but I really want him to give a quick intro about himself, and then Tater Hog, and then I want to know how Tater Hog came to be, and then what products are being offered here at Elevate Outdoors. Go ahead for us, Matt.
Yeah, I'm Matt McBee. I live over in Concord, North Carolina. Probably my home lake is Lake Norman. I'm the owner and the only employee of Tater Hog Custom Lures. And I started probably around 2004 with the fishing lure. It was kind of a hobby, turned into a business kind of thing. And then I decided 2 years ago to join the NPFL and start fishing a little. It's kind of always just a little pipe dream on the side. Wanted to see what it was like, kind of get the tour experience. And it's been a real fun. Have had nothing but great things to say about the NPFL and how much fun I'm having on the league.
Yeah, dude, us here at the OneCast, we've been advocates for the National Professional Fishing League since its inception. Brad, Paul, Big Al, Sean, and them, everybody, a lot of anglers on the roster from North Carolina. I mean, I think there's like 19 or 20 anglers, if I'm not mistaken. We're great friends with a lot of them, and we're continuing building those relationships. And the NPFL for us, and I know this isn't an NPFL segment, but we got to put it out there. Like, it's very nostalgic to me, right? Like it's a very family oriented tournament organization. We're really glad that we got more NC anglers joining the ranks, because honestly, man, like, I think North Carolina breeds some of the best anglers in the business, bar none.
Oh yeah. Lake Norman is my home lake, and there's so many good fishermen there. I mean, sometimes it's hard just to win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to win anywhere, but it's hard to win at home too.
Yeah.
With the competition that we have from our state.
We just talked about that, folks, right before we jumped on here, how difficult Lake Norman was. That was stop number 2 of the NPFL's 2025 season. Congratulations to Greg Hackney. He brought home the victory on that one, but we had a lot of North Carolina boys in the mix too. So we don't want to discount that. Seth Ellis with a fifth place finish. KJ Queen, I think, had a top.
He finished second.
He finished second or something like that. Hank Cherry did well himself. Shane LaHue did pretty good,
Shane,
right? So, gosh, Lake Norman, it just pumped him out. But, we're sitting here at Elevate. You got the name Tater Hog. Talk to us about, what is Tater Hog? How did that come about? My wife had a church cookbook that my aunt gave us from Middletown, Indiana, believe it or not. United Methodist Church. Okay.
It was a church cookbook. And one night I was back then when I started, I was selling stuff on eBay. Facebook and Instagram and all that wasn't even out yet. This is how old I am.
Nah, he's like 27, folks.
No, I'm in my 50s. But my wife's reading a thing. She's like, I think I'm going to make this dish tonight. It was tater nugget hog dish. And at the time, I had like a weird username like X517. I didn't even have a name on eBay.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I need to change my username. That's it. Like, if you catch a really big fish, it's a hog. And then I played a lot of sports and baseball. A home run's a tater. So in my mind, if you hit a home run or a really big fish, is a tater hog.
Okay.
And it was kind of ringy. And I said, people will remember that better than X715, So that's kind of what I started. And I started saying Tater Hog Custom Lures, and then people started calling me Tater. It was just the name of my company, and so I just started signing my baits like that.
Listen, you're not allowed to pick your own nickname, but it seems like you didn't realize you were doing it when you did it, but now it's stuck. Like, I don't even, there's probably several people that have no idea what your real name is.
No, most people don't know my real name.
Well, we get that a lot in the fishing world, and listen, only your good friends are the ones that call you those nicknames, right? But for a business, it's a great promotional opportunity. And so talk a little bit about like what Tater Hog Custom Lures specializes in.
Mostly it's anything like from in the last probably 5-6 years, it's mostly been swim baits, or topwater style baits. I started out with crankbaits, believe it or not.
Okay. Yep.
And I still make some of my crankbait designs. The hardest problem for me is I have made so many different designs over 25 years, I'm getting close to 25 years, that it's hard to make all my designs or constantly keep all of them in stock. So as an artist, I kind of consider myself an artist too.
For sure.
You get bored. Sometimes you're like making the same thing over and over. So then I'll pull an old design that I might haven't made in 5 years, and I start pumping some of those out again.
Okay, yeah.
And it kind of brings something fresh. But overall, probably in the last 5 years, glide baits have been real popular.
Okay.
The bigger swim baits have. Now the trend's going back towards the smaller stuff. People are wanting smaller glides. Back when I first started making swim baits, it was kind of a knock if you made a little. That's not a swim bait. It had to be giant and big.
Yeah.
And the trend's going back the other direction.
Okay.
So I'm pulling stuff out that I made, and like I've got a couple new design. People think it's new, but I actually made it in 2006, and I'm bringing it back because it wasn't as popular in 2006 as it is now.
So basically, you're just back to the future is what we're doing here. Like we're bringing things back, and you see that, folks, like in the fishing world, we've seen the evolution of small, first of all, minnow baits have been around forever, right? Minnows, right? The application of them is a little bit different now, but you get guys. So we talked about this last year, like the fishing world is cyclical. Sometimes there's always going to be that market for small finesse baits, right? But there is that market for those bigger baits because of how effective they can be in certain situations. And you got one sitting right in front of you right now. And this is a bait that's being offered here at Elevate Outdoors, correct?
Yeah. Mike asked me to send some baits up here, and they've got them there in their case. That right there is probably Zaldane made it popular at the Fork tournament in 2021. That's the Hog Father. It's a big
Hog Father,
8.5-inch gizzard shad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good bait at Lake Fork. It's going to be good locally here too on Harris and Jordan. I've caught them at Norman.
Yep.
On it, but Baden, Tillery, Tuckertown.
So you got the Hog Father here at Elevate. I think there's a couple more in the glass case over there. What are the names of those ones?
I think there's a new one I came out with. I called the Hero.
The Hero?
And it's more of a 6.5-inch gizzard shad.
Okay.
And then there might be some Hogfather Juniors. That's a popular one. And I need to get Mike some Moonshiners. That's a real popular wake bait I've been making. It's been hot this year.
Where can people, if you guys are in the glide bait, swim bait, maybe it sounds like he might bring some crankbaits back. I'm not sure. Some smaller baits that he used to make, back in 2006. Where can people go to find you and purchase your product?
It's pretty. I have a really long URL. It's taterhogcustomlures.com.
Okay.
But I also have other ones, which easy. Hogswag.com.
Hogswag.com.
That just prompt forwards to the main one. Or if you just Google Tater Hog, I will come up at the
100%. You are one of the most popular big swim bait guys in the industry. It's no secret. Outside of Elevate Outdoors, folks, that's the websites you can go find him on. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you about, a lot of people are like, where and when do you throw a big bait like the Hog Father? Can you kind of let the folks know, if they're new to the game, like what are some of the conditions where you're really going to specialize in throwing that bait?
In the probably pre forward facing sonar, like forward facing sonar has taught us all a lot over the last 3 or 4 years. But before forward facing sonar, this time of year, the pre-spawn, and usually in our area, I'm using North Carolina, for example.
Okay.
As the water temperature gets above 50 degrees. So, and then the leaves are starting to come out a little bit. So probably around March the 15th, the 20th of March is when that starts to happen in our area. And then prime time, you start seeing the azaleas, the pollen. when they're pre-spawn, on the beds, and post-spawn.
Okay.
My favorite time is actually post-spawn because they're feeding back up.
For sure.
They don't follow it as much. In the spawn, they tend to follow the glide baits a lot, mostly because they're really just chasing it away from their bed.
For sure.
But post-spawn, they tend to go to the first points out of the pockets that they spawn, preferably on a day that the wind's blowing on those points. They'll set up. And that's my favorite time. That's when you can go out and catch 20, 30 fish on it.
And big fish too.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, forward-facing sonars kind of changed it, where guys are taking them to the brush piles where we cranked 6XDs or deep crankbaits or DD22s.
Trying to tick the top of
They're
it or something.
Yeah. Back when I first started, people wanted glide baits to sink like this because they fished them shallow around the beds. Now the forward-facing guys, the younger kids, are wanting them to sink like this.
Sure.
Because they want to get them down and throw them on top of brush piles and stuff in the deep. So now it's pretty much, you can use them pretty much year-round.
You really can, and Matt's talking about, Tater's talking about forward-facing sonar. On the MPFL, that is a piece of technology that is not allowed.
Yeah.
As of the 2025 season, and clearly it's not hurting anybody. Everybody there knows how to catch a fish. I use the technology myself, and I can tell you, I love using a big glide bait all year long. And one of the best ways that I like to use it in the spawn is firing up a big female that's not locking on the bed, right? So I did it the other day. It was with a glide bait. It wasn't one of yours, but I do have some of yours. But basically the application looked like this. I had 2 males on the bed, and I had a big female that was just off the bed. And that glide bait, what that allowed me to do was frustrate those fish so much that the female ended up sliding up. And actually one of the males got hooked, but he came off. And you do, folks, if you haven't fished a glide bait, like, be ready to lose some fish because they do come off, and also be ready to boat flip some fish because you want to get them in the boat as quickly as possible. But I'll tell you that it frustrated the fish so much that the female eventually moved up because the males weren't doing their job. And then that female instantly ate, and she was 5 3/4 pounds off the bed. And that gave me over 22 pounds for that day, which was fantastic. So even if you're using the glide bait, you may not catch the fish, but you're going to fire them up with that big bait. And what North Carolina anglers need to understand, and we've said it numerous times, we have a ton of gizzard shad in North Carolina lakes. In fact, most people believe that every shad that they see is a threadfin. Well, that is actually the opposite of what the biologists will tell us here in North Carolina. When they're smaller shad, and the way to tell the difference is the gold ring around the eye is a gizzard and the silver ring around the eye is a threadfin. 90% of our shad in our lakes here in North Carolina are actually gizzard shad, according to the NCWRC biologists. So your baits that you make are absolutely applicable to be used here in North Carolina, obviously all over the world, because people are using them to catch not only bass, but big muskie and stuff like that. So that is a great breakdown of when you like to use them. And then lastly, is there a specific line size that you like to use, and gear ratio and rod or anything like that?
I keep stuff pretty simple.
Okay.
I mean, you can use about any kind of rod. Like the bigger glide baits, like the Hog Father, the here's weighs 4.5 ounces.
Okay.
So you kind of want to look for a rod that's rated up 2 to 6 ounces. And then you want to, every angler has their own preference as far as the action. Do they like a fast tip? Do they just want to horse it in and flip them? I mean, it's preference.
Sure.
But then as far as gear ratio, some of the big swim bait guys are into the higher gears, 8 to 1. Some will even go up to 10 to 1 because they want to get them in as fast as they can. I keep everything simple. I like 7 to 1.
Okay.
So then I know how fast I know how much line's coming when I do it slow. I do everything 7 to 1.
Okay, cool.
And then line weight, I always throw mine on 20-pound fluorocarbon on anything sinking.
Yep.
If you're scared, because I know the swim baits are costly, I tell people you could go up to 25 or even 30,
Sure.
but I tend to use 20 the most.
Okay. Awesome. Well, listen, Matt McBee here, Tater Hog, as everyone else knows him. You can come down here to Elevate Outdoors. There's the Hog Father. You got the Hero here.
Yeah, I got it. The new Hero,
and he's got some other ones here. You can obviously go to all of the URLs that Tater just talked about. Listen, he makes these things as time goes. So sometimes their things are out of stock, right?
Oh yeah. Well, you can always back order too. I'm different than the other guys. I don't do drops.
Sure. Yep.
If it says it's back ordered, it doesn't mean it's out of stock.
Okay.
It just means you order it, and it makes me have to go out there and work and make it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I'm usually about 2 to 3 weeks. 3 weeks is probably the longest anybody has to.
Okay. Directly out of Concord, North Carolina.
Yep, Concord, out of my garage.
We love our North Carolina anglers, our North Carolina small businesses. Speaking of small businesses, make sure you swing down here to Sanford, North Carolina. See Jason Holland, Big Mike, everybody here at Elevate Outdoors. Check out everything that they have to offer, to include Tater Hog's products. Mr. Matt, we appreciate you joining us here.
I appreciate y'all having me on here.
We're going to get him on for a full-blown segment here in the future, where you can find him here at the OneCast. Check out Tater Hog. Appreciate you, brother. And thanks for helping us continue growing a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time. What's going on, folks? Welcome back. We got another quick clip for you here from Elevate Outdoors, May 2nd, May 3rd. By the time you guys are listening to this, the store has already had its official grand opening, but we got a pretty cool guest here, Todd Walters, who fishes Major League Fishing Invitationals, lives up in Kernersville, North Carolina, right?
Yeah, Kernersville. It's right in between Winston and Greensboro.
So if you're using lakes as a reference, Ballew's Lake is pretty much the closest.
So I got a pretty diverse chain of lakes where I live. So I got Ballew's Creek, which is obviously the closest, about 20 minutes away. It's deep, it's clear. I got the Southern Virginia lakes, which are about an hour away. Smith Mountain's about an hour and a half. And then you got the Yadkin chain, which is Baden, High Rock. And then you've got the Raleigh lakes, which is Harris, Jordan. And so I got a lot of lakes within, hour and a half, 2 hours of me. So I don't get to spend as much time as I want to on those lakes, but I have the opportunity to go anywhere I want to within 2 hours. It's a great place to live.
I would say, Ben and I and Pete, we've been running this show for a few years now, and I think this is a very overlooked area. The Piedmont, the Yadkin chain, the Catawba River Basin, all that stuff. It's a very overlooked area, but we have really good fisheries in central, eastern, and western North Carolina, all over the state, truly. We're actually starting to see some more national traffic come this way. We just had an NPFL event on Lake Norman. I think College Bassmaster is going on right now as we speak on Bugs Island or Kerr Lake. There's a big bass bash that goes on at Kerr Lake now. Like we're starting to see some more traffic. Bassmasters came here to the Pascatank and stuff.
It's over the last few years. Even in the Raleigh region, we've had MLF come here with the heavy hitters.
That's right. So Todd is here at Elevate Outdoors. You've been fishing professionally for a long time now, haven't you, Todd?
Well, semi-professionally forever, but I joined in right at COVID.
Okay.
2021 was my first year on tour, so
okay.
I question my intelligence on that.
We had to find something to do.
COVID. There's a pandemic going on. Why not be a professional fisherman at 47 years old? Sure.
Hey, it's never too late to start.
It's not, and it's what I've wanted to do my entire life, and I had the support of my wife and my family and my sponsors, and just instead of dipping your toe in, you just jump in feet first or head first, whichever you prefer, and just go for it, man, and figure it out as you go. The guys on tour and the guys that have been doing it for a long time, they're extremely helpful. I've gained a lot of knowledge from a lot of guys that have been around for a long time. They've been extremely helpful and extremely courteous because they know, I may not finish first in bass in a tournament, but, I'll put my love for bass fishing up against anybody in the world. It's an addiction, and I love it more than I love anything else except for my wife and my dogs and my family. But, it's a passion. We all have it. I see it with you. You start talking about fishing when we were talking back there. I mean, we're all cut from the same cloth. We may come from different places, but if you love bass fishing as much as we all do, everybody gets along, and everybody, it doesn't matter where you come from, what religion you are, what political background you have. It doesn't matter, man. We're all just fishermen.
No, 100% agree with that. And luckily, we all have a passion for bass fishing, and we're sitting here in a great organization that just opened up as of today. They have their soft opening. Elevate Outdoors bringing you some really great products to the Sanford, North Carolina area. Really an area that hasn't had a lot of this. There's a couple local bait shops here and there. You have the Bass Pro Shops and Cary and stuff. But you can see the crowd in here. These people absolutely are ate up with the outdoors, specifically fishing, a lot of them bass fishing. So talk to us today. Talk to us about like what you're here representing today at Elevate Outdoors.
So I'm representing Garmin.
Okay.
I pinch hit for Corey Hunger, who's the area rep for Garmin. He covers a very wide territory, so he can't be everywhere at one time. So I pinch hit for him when we have special events like this and just talk about Garmin, talking about fishing. Obviously, the big topic and the big subject that you keep talking about is live scope. It is definitely changed fishing. I don't have to get into that. We don't have to get into that. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
Whether it's changed it for the better or the worse, that remains to be seen. But it's definitely helped a lot of careers, and it's definitely hurt a lot of careers. But Garmin's doing well. They're the leader in the industry, and they've made not only with live scope, but their mapping's gotten way better. Their 2D's gotten way better. Their side imaging's gotten great. Side view. So I don't feel like I'm at a disadvantage by just being with Garmin.
Sure.
And that's all I have on my boat is Garmin. I adapted live scope and made the switch from Lowrance in 2016 when live scope first came out, because I could see the writing on the wall. Built a relationship with Corey, and here we are 6-7 years later. So it's been a great relationship. Me and Corey work great together. We also get along personally, which helps. And we're very open and honest with each other. And, we definitely want to help our local shops. So, I'll pinch hit wherever I can. I own my own business, so I don't have a ton of flexible time, and I'm on tour, but, and I'm currently rigging my boat. Just got it done. So, there's a lot going on, but you always want to make sure that you take care of the people that take care of you.
Absolutely. Speaking of those people, they're going to walk through these doors. They're going to ask these questions to, Jason Holland or Big Mike or those that work here at Elevate Outdoors. When they ask the question, hey, what kind of Garmin stuff can I get from Elevate? What can they get from here?
They carry all the products. So
Okay.
They got the GPS map series, they got the Echo Map series, they got the Striker series. It just depends on your budget, what you want to do, how much you want to invest, and how serious you are about it. Luckily, the live scope and the new software updates, a lot of this stuff is plug and play. So it's and a lot of it integrates with your existing infrastructure. So if you have a Garmin unit, chances are your live scope unit is going to work with that unit. So you're just adding a plug-in, doing a software update, and you're good to go. So, but they have full wide range of products here. They've got they got screens from 16 inches down to 5 inches. So basically anything for depending on the budget and the needs.
Sure. Yeah. So with Garmin, what is, if you were to get this question from me, like, what do I need to make sure that my Garmins are the most effective piece of technology ever? What would your response be to that?
Good installation, good wiring. It's amazing. I do go out with people on their boats, and they hire me, and I do guide service and electronics trainings on lakes around my house. But it's amazing how many boats I hop into, and you'll spend, $3,500 on a unit, and you've got speaker wire running the main power. I mean, it's like, if you're going to spend this much on a unit, get it installed properly by somebody who knows what they're doing. And it makes it so much easier. The main thing is to, number one, have your power. I designed a battery bionic that's a 16 volt, 52 amp hour battery, and it fits in your rod box. So you have no wire splicing, which is definitely helpful.
Clean power.
And making sure that transducer is in the right position, make sure it's flat, make sure, because everybody's trolling motor, when it goes into the water, it may not necessarily be perpendicular to where you're at.
Right.
A lot of it has to do with the angle of the boat, the angle of the transducer. That's when you get your cleanest signals. And a good mount, a good solid mount to keep you at 0 degrees.
Yeah. We get a lot of people that ask us a question, like, hey, how do I get the maximum effective range out of my forward facing sonar unit, whatever brand that may be? How are your images looking compared to mine? Like, why does yours look so clean and stuff? And I second that, right? The clean power, the proper installation, the proper placement. You know, every boat is different. These manufacturers are different. The way that the trolling motor is mounted on the front may look different on a Triton than it does a Skeeter, right? And so they make technology out there that you can put underneath your trolling motor to make sure it's leveled out. I won't name the names, but they're out there. You guys can Google them and stuff like that. But that's great information for people, because I think a lot of people new in the technology world just think it's just like, let me just throw it on my boat and see where it goes. You got to play with it, right? And Todd's here, as he talked about, he takes people out. He shows them how to use. Basically it's a guided service on how to use your electronics, right? Tutorials and stuff like that.
I mean, we do catch some fish. Just
Sure.
basically go out there.
Yeah.
I definitely want to go out and catch fish, and they want to too. But you want to see the whole process, right? Like with the forward-facing sonar, obviously everybody wants to use the minnow. So presentation is important as well, and it's becoming more and more important. The more these fish see these baits falling down on their heads, they're getting a lot smarter. The one thing that I did want to mention too is at this time of the year when there's a lot of pollen in the water.
I was actually going to bring this up. Yep.
And sediment in the water, like every body of water that you have to go to, you have to change your settings most times. Yeah. Now, if you go from a clear lake to a clear lake, you probably don't need to change it too much. But the main thing that you want to change your your color gain, your gain, and your. I always keep my screen on manual. I don't put it on auto.
Right.
And what that does is it maximizes the picture. I don't really care about what's going on underneath that yellow line, right? So I want to maximize my screen. And I run a 16-inch GPS map, 8616 on the front, and I've got it pretty dialed in right now. But there's no mistaking that it's a fish and where your lure is. And again, it's from a good install. But you definitely want to pay attention to the water clarity, the sediment in the water, the pollen in the water, because pollen season is terrible for live scopes.
Yes.
Yeah. You can mess with the color gain. You can mess with a couple of the other things. It's never going to be as good as it is when you're in deep, clear water.
Yeah, absolutely. We all run different brands and stuff, but I don't care what brand it is. When the pollen is here, you see that return in the water. It's really difficult to break that stuff down.
Yeah, it just blows it out.
It does blow it out.
I think I realized that a couple of years ago. I hadn't been out for a couple months or whatever, and I got out in the water and I dropped my line. I was like, why is this picture so terrible? And I was like, there's literally pollen on top of the water. There's a reason why. So you said 2016 is when you joined Garmin.
Yep.
So that means you were an OG Panoptics.
Yep. I was ahead of the curve for a while, but now I'm behind the curve, as you can tell from my standings. But I was one of the first ones to use the jig minnow, and I was one of the first ones to use forward-facing sonar. I just didn't get as good at it as some of these kids are. But we're working on it. We're getting better. I try and get better every single tournament and try to learn from my mistakes. And, I've had some success, but most failures. And it's hard, man. Any one of these guys here will tell you.
Oh, yeah.
These are the best of the best. And I don't care what division you're in. If you're out there and you're competing against the best in the world, man, you got to be on top of your game. You got to have the best stuff. You got to have the best updates. You got to have every advantage you can get. Within the rules, of course.
100%. Yeah. Listen, like a lot of us pride ourselves on our tournament finishes. Obviously, those who rely on it, they rely on that money and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, like your whole life and whole career isn't defined by 2-3 bad days, right? But that being said, if you are finding that you're having those bad days, come down here to Elevate Outdoors. Look at the piece of technology they have to offer. Todd's talking about Garmin. It's a great electronic product. We use a lot of Garmin in the military for a reason, right? It's a great, trusted product. And I think the more you get to know your technology on an intimate level and everything about it, I think the more effective you're going to be on the water, right?
The more you play with it, the more you learn. Like I tell everybody that walks up to the table, it's like, I can show you on this unit right here. It's in demo mode, but until you get it on your boat, and put your boat in the water, you're going to see probably a little different image than what I'm looking at right here. So a lot of it has to do with just trial and error, going out there and just messing with the settings. And again, once you start to learn what each setting does and how to correctly adjust that based on the conditions, the more efficient you become with it and the better you become with it.
Yeah, well, Todd, we appreciate you breaking that down real quick before we end here. Obviously, everyone knows where they can find Garmin. You can literally just Google Garmin and stuff like that. But if people are trying to find you specifically or have you help them with their Garmin units and stuff, where can they go to find you?
So you can go to Todd Walters Fishing on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, wherever you want to find me, you can find me. social media is the best way. Just
Social media.
find Todd Walters Fishing. I should come up pretty quickly.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you, Todd. Thank you for hanging out with us here at Elevate Outdoors. Come down to Sanford, North Carolina. Check out all the amazing products they have to offer. Todd talked about Garmin. Make sure you enhance your fishing abilities and help us continue building a culture of anglers helping anglers one cast at a time. All right, folks, we are back. Hey, Nick, can you go ahead and move that camera back for me on those little yellow things? Look, everyone, Nick is moving the camera back. We got a gentleman here filling out an entry form into our free Hobie eyewear giveaway. He's going to get, if he wins, he gets the Lucky Duck. He gets the new sport towel, the 25-year anniversary sport towel from Hobie Eyewear, and then a pair of the Everglade float frames. But what we're here to do right now is talk to Mr. Jacob Ray. He's sitting right here next to me. To my left, he is one of our first Elevate Outdoor customer testimonials, and we're going to talk a little bit about fishing. Jacob, how are we doing today?
Good.
You doing good?
Mm-hmm.
Who you here with today?
My dad.
Your daddy?
Yeah.
Are you guys here to buy some fishing gear or what?
We're just checking out this place.
Yeah? Is this your first time coming to Elevate Outdoors?
Second time.
What'd you guys buy when you were here the first time?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Jacob, before we jumped on the camera here and behind the microphones, we were talking about a little bit of fishing, and you've done a little bit of fishing yourself. Can you talk to us about the story when you caught that warmouth?
Yeah, I caught that warmouth, and I was reeling it in, and so my dog Max, he was right there, and so I was reeling it in near Max, and I like doing that, and when I reeled it near him, he jumped back.
Yeah.
And he didn't get in there until 2 days. For 2 days.
That scared that dog so much after he was reeling in that warmouth. He wouldn't get back in the water for 2 days. Jacob, where were y'all fishing at?
The pond. The pond.
Now, don't tell people where the pond's at because they're going to try to shark your pond. You just say we're fishing in a pond.
All right.
You're just in a pond. Is it a public pond or a private pond? Private pond. So nobody can go on Jacob's pond and catch any of those warmouths he was talking about. So what were you fishing for that warmouth with? What kind of bait?
It was actually crickets.
Crickets?
Yeah, I found it at on the side of my house.
Oh, so you went and found your own live bait to use.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you bait your own hook or does your daddy bait your hook?
Well, whoever's there, yeah.
You're not going to bait your own hook?
I don't know how to.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I know how to do that.
You know how to bait your own hook?
Yeah.
Okay, we're using a cork?
Yes.
A bobber?
Yes, bobber.
Okay. Well, guys, if you come on down to Elevate Outdoors, they have all the bobbers that you can that you need here. I don't know what brands they are and stuff like that, but they carry a whole bunch more fishing tackle. Jacob, did you and your dad go through the store here and see any of the tackle that you guys liked?
I don't really know about them, but so yeah, I don't really know about those baits. And
you don't know about those baits? Let me tell you about one bait that they carry here at Elevate Outdoors. They got the OneCast Fishing baits. You ever heard of OneCast Fishing?
No.
Okay, well, OneCast Fishing is a local manufacturer here in Sanford, North Carolina. And if you go down about 4 aisles over there, they got snagless jigs. So they got different types of snagless jigs. They got a swim jig. They got a football head jig. They got a flipping jig. They got a punching jig. They got a bladed jig. So they got 5 different variations of the snagless jig. They also have weedless Ned heads. You ever heard of a weedless Ned head? A weedless Ned head is like a little thing of lead with a small hook on it that you can put a small soft plastic on the back. And we call that a finesse bait, right? Very small finesse style bait. Gets those fish to eat when they're so pressured because so many people are fishing for the fish. All right. And then there's different soft plastics that OneCast Fishing has. And actually, our good friend Nick here is going to bring us an example of a couple of the things I was just talking about. So this right here, that's a Ned head, a weedless Ned head, right?
Yeah.
And that is a 1/8 ounce. We'll show the camera here. That's a Ned head. And then this right here is a snagless swim jig. This is a black and blue swim jig right here. And the cool thing about this swim jig is there's no weed guard on it. So basically when you put your when you put your swim bait or your craw or anything like that, you can basically Texas rig your soft plastic on the back of it. That way, when you're swimming it through stuff, you're not going to get snagged up. So that being said, those are really for bass fishing and stuff. And you talked about catching a warmouth, but your daddy showed us some pictures of you catching some bass.
Yeah. Two of them were, I think both of them were on the lake.
Okay, which lake did y'all go to?
One lake, I can't remember where it is, but it's pretty far away from here.
Is it pretty far away? Were you guys out on a boat?
Yeah, my dad's friends.
Your dad's friend has a bass boat?
Yeah.
Okay, what did you catch those bass on?
I can't remember, but it was my friend's boat, my dad's friend's boat.
Okay. So you caught a couple largemouth bass, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you have a good time doing that?
Yes.
Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, if you come down to Elevate Outdoors, they got great stuff to get kids into the fishing world. They got all the rods that you're looking for, all the fishing reels. They got cool fishing apparel here. They got all that tackle that Jacob and I were just talking about. They even got boats here, don't they?
Yes.
They got a boat sitting right next to Jacob. That's a Skeeter ZXR 20. They got another one over here. It's a ZXR 20 SE Standard Edition. They got Bass Cats. They got Tidewaters. They got G3s. They got all sorts of stuff to get Jacob and all his friends out on the boat and catching fish. Jacob, what is the coolest fish you've ever caught in your entire life?
Probably the warmouth.
The warmouth is the coolest fish.
And the time where my friend, my dad's friend, it was before we had a boat.
Okay. You're catching them out of a pond?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, Jacob, if you wanted to say anything to the kids out there looking to get into fishing, what would you say to the kids that want to get into fishing?
Start fishing at more smaller places and try your best.
There you go. Try your best. Start fishing those smaller places so that you get used to understanding fish behavior and that you actually catch fish. I think one of the most important things when you're getting a kid into fishing is taking them to a place where they're actually going to catch some fish, right?
Yes.
Because if they don't catch fish, then they're not going to like it, right?
Yes.
And then the older you get, the more you realize it's harder to catch fish. And then you thank your dad along the way for saying, thanks, Dad. Thanks for getting me on some fish so that I could catch them when I was at a young age. So, folks, that's Jacob right here coming to you from Elevate Outdoors down in Sanford, North Carolina. They have a ton of things they offer, from fishing apparel to boats, Skeeters, Bass Cats, G3s, Tidewaters. They got all the tackle you're looking for. And they got cool kids like Jacob down here hanging out, having a good time, breaking some bread, and jumping on the podcast here. Jacob, thanks for helping us continue to grow a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time. Folks, we are back here at Elevate Outdoors. We've brought you a ton of people to talk about their products and services being offered here in the Sanford, North Carolina area. May 2nd, May 3rd. If you're listening to this or watching this, obviously that date has passed, but please come on down here, see Jason Holland, see Big Mike, see all the products and services they have to offer in the Sanford, North Carolina area. And we are honored to have Mr. Josh Paynyard.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. The Humminbird Minn Kota representative down here today at the grand opening. And he's going to talk a little bit about the products and services that Elevate has in partnership with Humminbird and Minn Kota. So Josh, appreciate you jumping on here and breaking it down for us. And, you know, we talked to some of the reps earlier for their products and services, and they kind of gave the audience a little bit of an understanding of what the different capabilities and technologies were that they have. So, you know, Humminbird Minn Kota has been around for a long time, right? Elevate Outdoors is obviously carrying that product and that service. So from your perspective, what if somebody walks into Elevate right now, what can they get their hands on with Humminbird and Minn Kota?
Yeah, so a few things. You know, we talk about a lot of the technology we've brought to the marketplace in fishing. I mean, one of the things I can talk about real quick is what's on these Skeeter boats, and that's the Ultrex motor.
That's
Everybody knows that Ultrex motor.
Yep.
Spot lock is the number one thing that people talk about. The new Quest motor we brought out about a year and a half ago, I mean, that's been a beast, right? That 24, 36 volt motor has just been quiet. It's been strong. So everybody's been talking about that. But one of the exciting things this year for me is the new Explorer unit in the Mega Live 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Forward-facing sonar is here, and I think it's here to stay. I mean, I guess it depends on what side you're on about that.
But. We here at the OneCast, we've been huge advocates. Advancement in technology is something that we all stand behind, right? And and listen, like we always talk about it, that there's a genre of fishing out there for everybody, right? If you're a fan of the sport like we all are, and you want to watch it, well, these leagues out here at the national level are doing something different, right? And if you're that person that just wants to get out on the water and catch fish and do what you want to do, rig your boat the way you want to rig it. And I'm here to stand behind Josh. I'll tell you, I've been running a Minn Kota Ultrex forever, and it is the best trolling motor that I've ever. Well, it's really the only one, but no, I've had a couple different brands, but it's the best trolling motor. You guys got a great warranty program with it. And you guys came out with Mega Live 2 this year, right?
That's right.
That's a really great forward-facing sonar capability, and it obviously has changed the game. And so, all the brands out here are doing a great job, but you guys are representing Humminbird Minn Kota here in Elevate Outdoors. The biggest difference I wanted to ask from you to educate the audience on with trolling motors real quick, though, is the Ultrex and the Quest. What's the biggest difference between the two?
So you're talking a brush technology, a permanent magnet technology versus a brushless technology. And what brushless is going to do for you is going to give you more torque, and it's going to give you better battery efficiency. Okay. So you're going to have longer life out there on the water with that brushless motor. Okay. So that's what you're getting. You're getting that torque. You're not going to hear us talk about pounds of thrust really anymore, because it's the torque that foot of that motor puts off. That's why most guys, if you talk to them that have the same rig maybe from last year, can go like a mile and a half hour faster. Okay. Because of the torque that motor is putting out.
So Quests don't they don't say like 80 pounds, 112
They
pounds.
are. I mean, we're going to say 90 to 115. And when it comes to the 24 volt system, you're actually getting about 50% more torque out of that on the 20. Really? Yes. But we're not really going to talk that pound thrust, because the torque is so much more to talk about. And that's what gives you that power and the ability to hold you in that strong wind, is that torque.
Okay. Yeah. Trolling motors, I think oftentimes, just like mapping technology is overlooked with, forward facing being like the main topic of discussion with technology and stuff. But I can tell you right now, if I had the choice between having forward facing sonar on my boat and a spot lock trolling motor like the Ultrex, I'm going with the Ultrex any day of the week. Will we see the Ultrex go away and the Quest take over, or are they both going to be options?
They're both going to be options. The reason we wanted to do that is because if you look at the marketplace right now, that price point for a permanent magnet is there for that guy that is that intermediate beginner angler that needs something, economically to put on the boat and still have that spot lock. So we're going to give you that difference. Now, honestly, if you look at it, there's only about an $800 difference when you're looking motor to motor. So for some guys, that $800, hey, just add that to the boat price and let me go. Let me get out there on the water. But for some, that $800 makes a difference. And we understood that. And we wanted to make sure we had that in the marketplace for that angler.
No, that's a phenomenal breakdown. Let's shift gears now from trolling motors to graphs. You talked about something that has come out, and I've actually had the pleasure of operating some of these Humminbird Explorer systems. We put them on a good buddy of ours who fishes the National Professional Fishing League, Seth Ellis. He outfitted his boats with his boat with two Humminbird Explorer 12s. Can you talk about the difference between the Humminbird Explorers and what they're replacing in the Humminbird lineup?
Yeah, so this fall, for most people, probably saw a lot of rebates out there for some older graphs. So we took away from the Helix family. From 9 to 15, those got discontinued. Solix went away as well, because what we just gave you, and this is amazing to me. This is because you can see the smile on my face. I'm a little excited about this for the consumer, because what we were able to give you is a faster Solix at a Helix price.
Okay.
So let me say that again. A faster Solix at a Helix price.
I like that.
So
I like that.
And not to mention with that, in every unit. So we're only going to do 6 SKUs in this. We're going to do a 9, a 10, and a 12 is what we're offering.
Okay.
We're offering one with a transducer. It's going to come with a compact transducer. You're not losing anything there, really. And then one without. They're all going to be side imaging units. But here's the kicker. Not only have we added some cool waypoint management system that we're excited about, but every unit comes with a map card.
Oh, does it really?
So that map card is a LakeMaster VX.
Okay.
It's for the whole United States, Canada, and has Coastmaster built in.
So you guys, it's like an all-in-one package deal.
Absolutely.
Because in the past, you've had to purchase the graph,
Yep.
Which most of them weren't touchscreen outside of the Apex series, right?
Yeah. Solix was cross-switch.
Yeah. And then you had to buy the graph, and you had to buy the mapping and stuff like that.
That's right.
Well, now it's all coming right at you with the new Humminbird Explorer package.
Yeah.
Right?
I've kind of done the adding. If you add, I would challenge somebody to add up all the regions that we have and how much that card cost.
Yeah.
And then add the Canada regions and then the Coastmaster. Yeah. The value that I could tell you that is phenomenal. Sure. That you're getting. And we can still that unit still accepts the premium LakeMaster card, which for most that understand LakeMaster, that gives you the Google overlay and the 2D shaded relief. So you can still add that. Now that's by regions. But here's the thing. You could come in today at Elevate Outdoors, get Explorer units, have them put that in the boat. And I'm from Georgia. You could go from here from North Carolina, go to Georgia and go fish Lake Lanier and never have to switch out a map card.
Right, because you get that LakeMaster VX mapping card, right?
And then here's the kicker. Let's say we outfit the Skeeter that's in front of us with 3 Explorer units. There's going to be 3 map cards in there because everyone comes with a map card. So you're actually getting 2 extra map cards you can take out because Explorer shares mapping through the system.
Well, hey, listen, people, if you're getting your Humminbird Explorers, make sure you protect those map cards.
Yes.
You don't want to lose any of that stuff. So, we talked about with Josh here, we talked about the Ultrex. We talked about the Quest. We talked about the new Explorer units coming with that Humminbird LakeMaster VX card, right? And you can upgrade to the
right.
To the, what's it called?
It's the LakeMaster Premium. It's going to give you, Google overlay and the 2D shaded relief. I have that showing here. So for anybody that comes in, we have that on display showing so you can see the difference.
Okay. And then is there any other product that right now between Humminbird and Minn Kota that you want to talk about real quick from Elevate?
Yeah, you see me smiling because it's the new Mega Life 2.
Okay. Let's break that down.
Yeah. So guys, I can tell you that, Johnson Outdoor, I can tell you over the last year has really been focusing on this, and we know, we can admit, sometimes you strike out the first time, right?
Sure.
So the engineers really took their time. The good thing is the 2 main engineers I give credit to this they fish tournaments. They understand it. I would tell you last July when we first saw it, it wasn't where it is today. And for I give it to those guys. I give credit to those guys because they had guys like myself on the boat that fish, that are passionate about fishing. And they listened to our needs. They listened to what we needed and what we saw then. And I would tell you in about 2.5 to 3 months, they had it where we wanted it. And the cool thing about this is not only is it probably 10 times better than what we've had, the imaging, the bait tracking, we've got a different array. So the housing's just a tad bit bigger, but the bait tracking's better. The target separation is phenomenal. I mean, we got a big playing on this big 300-inch screen up here on the wall, but so you got to come check that out. But the other thing I give to them is that there's continued improvements we can make through firmware and software.
Absolutely.
So it's not over. And I like what we've done. People have been impressed with it. The demand's been great. We can't even keep up with demand.
That's a good problem to have.
That's right. And that's set in motion a lot of things. So like, for example, I don't know how familiar you are with our target lock system, but that's brought target lock back into the fold because of this. So that is, again, it's exciting to have. I have a little tabletop display to show the new Mega Live 2 and what it looks like. And can go through all that. I've got, of course, a recording playing on the Apex right now that we're doing wireless through HDMI. That's giving us that big 300-inch screen up on the wall.
Yeah, I want
to
that
watch
on the front of my boat.
That's it. Yeah, I think we can see everything from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, to look at the imaging that we put out, the bait tracking now, the improvements. One of the great things they did with this too is we've named our color palettes.
Okay.
I mean, how many times if you're
palette 1, 2, 3, 4,
except for doing numbers, what they've learned is people understand names. So when I ask you when you're out there fishing, what color were you throwing?
Blue.
Okay. You know that it was probably blue crawl or green pumpkin. Guess what? Guess what our names there's green pumpkin on there. There's watermelon red. There's watermelon. There's sunrise. So we give you that because now as an angler, we always constantly know what we're throwing. We know then by name, we know exactly what color palette we've been using. It's easier to know than, I think I was using number 4.
Yeah.
No, I'm using Sunrise.
That's right.
You know, so
now we know how to associate color palettes.
yeah. And the cool thing about these color palettes, I would tell you, the way these engineers looked at them and developed them is each color palette has its own functionality. So like what's playing up there right now is what we call the Doppler. And most people are familiar with that because our competitors use that same thing. It's like a Doppler radar. It's great for bait tracking. It's great for tracking fish. The overall detail, it's a little choppy with detail, but I would tell you, if I changed that color up there to the Alabama Amber, that would give you great detail and target separation. So the color palettes play a big role in what you really want to do out there on the water and see. So you have to pay attention to that, and everybody's eyes are different, right?
Sure.
So I think what we did here with those color palettes is amazing. Giving those names too makes it easy. And again, the improvement we made here with Mega Live 2, it just makes you excited. It's very exciting for me as a rep to be out here showing this to everybody because again, it's just kind of livens you up to want to get out there and really use the product. And I've been using it since November. And I would tell you it right now, I think these guys nailed it on the head.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you on that one. The image is beautiful. And listen, Josh isn't going to be here forever. He is here for the grand opening. So by the time people are listening to this, it's most likely over. But that being said, you can come in here to Elevate Outdoors. Is that correct, Josh? And you can get your hands on Ultrexes, on Quests, on the Humminbird Mega Live 2. You can get your hands on the new Explorer units. You can get everything that Humminbird and Minn Kota have to offer right here in Sanford, North Carolina. Elevate Outdoors. Right?
Yeah, these guys have the good thing about Johnson Outdoors or Minn Kota and Humminbird is that they have great distributor partners, and Elevate Outdoors is now with some of those distributor partners of ours that we work with. And most likely anything you're looking for now, I can tell you again, we talked about the demand. The demand has been high for all of this. But yeah, they can get it from those distributor partners. And if they've got it in stock, they can probably have it within a day or two.
No, that's awesome. Josh Payniard from Humminbird and Minn Kota, appreciate you jumping on here with the OneCast. Yeah. We're all about educating all of our audience and making sure that we continue growing a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time. To the stage. Let me add us to the stage. Welcome back, folks. We're here. We are still here at Elevate Outdoors. We had Matt McBee on earlier, Tater Hog. We just had Todd Walters on with Garmin. We got a great friend of the show. He's been on numerous times, Mike Corbishley, who, by the way, congratulations, is a new father. So that's awesome, dude. Welcoming a little one into this world. So he's got to get going here in a minute, but real quick, Elevate Outdoors, they carry Cashion fishing rods, and Mike's here to talk about that. So without further ado, Mike, talk about the rods that folks can find here at Elevate Outdoors.
They've got just about all of them. I mean, you've got the actual Cashion plant right down the road, right? So, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 racks of rods. I mean, there's really not much that you can't get here. And behind them, you obviously have all these different racks of tackle too. So between that, the tackle, the rods that they have, plus the boats, you've got a pretty good selection of stuff to buy here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that they've got just about everything. I haven't gone through every single one of the racks, but I mean, honestly, like this is one of those junk fishing times of the year, right? Like you've got some fish that are dirt shallow. You've got some fish that are out there in 20 foot, probably a handful anyways already. So you start mixing in all that. It's very easy to get 20 different rods on the deck. And Cashion does a good job with like certain rods that can do a little bit of everything.
Sure. Yep.
But you need 20 rods on the deck. They got 20 of them here for you.
They got 20 different ones, folks. We always talk about how important like having good gear, reliable gear is. You know, a lot of us fish Cashion products. You know, Mike, he just finished up fishing the MPFL last year. He's fishing the Bass Opens and Elite qualifiers this year. He's definitely going to qualify. Very confident in that. No, it's not jinxing it, but you know what? He goes out there with reliable gear all the time, and Cashion fishing rods right here out of Sanford, North Carolina, is a great partner of Elevate Outdoors. And so, Mike, this time of year in the spawn, what is your go-to, let's just say your top go-to casting rod and your top go-to spinning rod from Cashion?
So for me, I have always been, like, I'm not a great bed fisherman, but some of the rods kind of go hand in hand. But, like, I like to flip, I like to throw top water, and I like to swim a jig.
Okay.
So if they're shallow, like that's going to be my 3 things. And with that, my top 2 rods are going to be John Crew swim jig rod,
Okay.
which you can also throw a buzzbait on and stuff like that. And
That's
I
right.
like to throw on there as well. And sometimes just depends on, the lake I'm at. But anyways, that's kind of my go-to is the John Crew swim jig rod. And then on top of that, the 7.3 medium heaven flipping rod is my favorite. And then I also like a 7.6, the 7.6 medium
That's a big
heavy.
one.
Yeah, so I'll throw that 7.6 medium heavy if I'm in like real thick stuff, like flipping a bigger weight or getting in the center of bushes or whatever else. And then also you can use that same rod when you get off of the bank, like when they get on that in between ledge stuff or out on the ledges and you want to throw a big jig or drag a big worm or even you can throw a spoon around on those rods. I like a Nichols mini mag a lot. The Nichols mini mag spoon and the Magnum spoon, but like I'll throw that on that 7.6 as well.
Okay.
You throw a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of throwing a big flutter spoon around. I like to use my Cashion multi-purpose rod actually.
Really?
Yeah, it works for me. I just feel like it loads up properly when you jack them with that spoon. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, the cool thing about Cashion, on the butt end of the rods, it kind of tells you what application the rod is used for, right? And I know a lot of people look for that when they're looking at their rods, like, hey, what is this rod for? And if you haven't been in the game long enough and understand the difference between, the actions of the rods and things like that, then Cashion really does a good job to help you out. Like, hey, this is our multi-purpose rod. Yep. Hey, this is our spinning multi-purpose rod. Hey, this is our big bait rod, whatever. So with the spinning rods though, this time of year, this is also important. I love bed fishing. I've been doing it for the last, 3-4 weeks in a row, just trying to get better at jacking their face and stuff like that. But one of the things I notice is using spinning rods for fish on the bed is also important too. So whether or not you're throwing a wacky rig, a Nico rig, but even going with a drop shot on the bed. So do you use a lot of the Cashion drop shot rods, the John Crews ones?
I do. So I don't have any of the John Crews ones, but I've got, it's funny, right? I think I owned 2 spinning rods like 4 years ago and now I've got like 9.
Yeah.
So, obviously with the minnow craze and everything else, but I like to throw drop shot a lot, especially like smallmouth fishing and stuff like that. But bed fishing, absolutely. So I tend to lean towards bigger spinning rods. I gave my input. I had a little bit of input on the forward facing sonar rods that came out. The 7'4" and 7'5" forward facing sonar rods. I like that 7'4" a lot for a wacky rig, for a Nico rig, for I don't know, a little bit of everything when it comes to some of that. And then the 7'5" is also really nice if you're throwing something that's really light. It's a bigger rod. Prior to that, I used to use the and it's got a super light tip, like the whole thing's a noodle. You know what I mean? Like you'll notice that if you kind of reel into them with like a wacky rig with that bigger rod, you have a little bit more leverage to kind of get them away from stuff, but at the same time they really load up on it. Prior to that, I used the 7-foot medium a lot. And if I'm in tight quarters, that's the way to go, is the smaller rod, like the 7-foot medium. I believe it is the what is it? Shaky head rod? Oh no, Ned rig rod.
Ned rig rod.
Yeah, Ned rig rod. And then the drop shot rod is great for throwing a drop shot. I think that you have to have a little bit more tip with the drop shot.
You do.
Than you do with like that Ned rig rod. But the Ned rig rod, I actually prefer on like if I was throwing that or the drop shot, I'd throw like my Senko on the Ned rig rod. For some reason, I just
you got to play around with those Cashion rods, right? Just because it says what it's designed for on the butt end of the rod, like play around with it. I know that I use a lot of my Cashion rods for multi-purpose things outside of what they say, right? Sure. And it's what you're comfortable with,
and that's why it's nice. Cashion's got both the design purpose on there and then also the extra power and action, because some brands don't have all that information on there, so you can see where they're tailored for it. And look. And if you guys don't like the fairy sticks and the fairy wands, they've got the bait cast finesse stuff too.
Yeah, the bait finesse system. Yeah, the BFS stuff is. Let me tell you what.
You might have gone to more spinning rods. I pretty much got rid of all my spinning rods and I just use the BFS now. And
so, what reels do you throw with the BFS?
So I've got a Daiwa Steez Air.
Yep.
That and then I have I think it's the Shimano. Did Corrado come out with BFS? I think so.
I think so. Maybe.
Yeah. So that's the other one I have.
So yeah, I guess that's been my holdup. Like I haven't figured out the right rod necessarily for the BFS stuff, but I'll tell you where I do really like those BFS rods is like super light crankbaits.
Yeah, super light crank, like shad wraps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Really good for that. I'll tell you something else that works really well on a BFS rod is throwing a floating worm, right? There's a lot of people that will throw like a pink or a methyl, I don't know how you say it, whatever, an orange looking worm, and they'll throw it on a 3 or a 4 or 5 like worm hook, and they'll do it on the spinning rod. Man, on a BFS rod, like you can work that worm like nice, quick overlay down stuff like that, or kill it, and it loads up really, really well. Little light crankbaits, that works really well too. So, but before we kick you out of here, Mike, because we know you got to go spend some time with your wife and your new baby, what's the most important thing about Cashion rods? We know they're made right here in America. But talk to us about the importance of being an American-made product here.
Well, yeah, you said outside of that. I think you just said it.
It is.
It's absolutely like the fact. Okay, so you've got rods kind of, and I've got a little bit of insight on the industry just as a whole, but there's a lot of different rod brands that I've kind of got a pulse on and talking to different people where, some of these blanks that they're selling for $100-$150 within the States, they're coming from overseas for like $11.
Right.
Like they're cheap blanks, and they just kind of they make them a certain color and whatever else, and they sell them here. But these are all produced in house. Like the Cashion stuff is all produced in the U.S. They build the blanks here. Okay, It's not like they're just putting guides on them and it's quote unquote assembled in the U.S. It is made and manufactured in the U.S.
That's right.
So they're building them right here in your backyard, and they've got a process. I'm sure you guys have, and I've been lucky enough to kind of get one of those tours and kind of get a pulse on how they build all that stuff and the way they wrap them and put the guides on and stuff. And it's all made by an American citizen right here in the States.
That's right. Yep.
So it's good. And I don't know, we don't have an hour to get into tariffs and stuff, but if it's good to support your local businesses and Cashion, you got to remember, like, I mean, Matt, I remember meeting Matt in like 2012, probably, where he was like lone wolf at the Raleigh fishing show. You know what I mean? It was like just him building them out of his garage, and what they've come to today. The reason they've grown so much is because they build a dang good product.
That's right. And they stand behind that product.
Right.
And Mike is talking about, with the economical situation changing and things like that, you're not going to see a massive change, hopefully, out of Cashion rods. We're still going to be here in your backyard, right next to Elevate Outdoors down here in Sanford, North Carolina. They got an amazing warranty process. If you break a rod or anything like that, you take it back to Cashion. They'll usually square it away for it. They will square it away for you. So that being said, if you guys are in the area, swing down here to Elevate Outdoors in Sanford, North Carolina. They're a Cashion carrier. Thank you, Mike Corbersley, so much for coming down here, talking Cashion rods. Congratulations on your new baby.
Thanks,
We'll see you in the elite qualifiers and probably next year on the Bassmaster Elite Series.
Don't jinx me.
Woo, thank you. All right, man. Mike Corbersley, everyone,
Thanks
helping us continue to grow a culture of anglers, helping anglers OneCast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.